If you have ever lost someone you deeply loved, then you know that pain does not arrive as a simple emotion. It does not sit quietly in one corner of your heart, waiting for you to notice it. It enters your life like a force that rearranges your inner world. Suddenly, the things that used to feel normal no longer feel normal. The person you were before, the loss no longer feels entirely present. And the life you thought you understood begins to look unfamiliar. That is why pain is so confusing. It is not only grief. It is disorientation. It is the collapse of certainty. It is the realization that something you thought would always remain has vanished. And now you are left trying to understand not only the loss itself, but also the person you are becoming because of it. Most people do not know what to do with this. They try to move on too quickly. They try to function, to distract themselves, to stay busy, to keep the sorrow from reaching the deeper places inside them. But what if that is the mistake? What if pain is not something you are meant to outrun, but something you are meant to understand? Kahlil Gibran believed exactly that. He did not treat pain as meaningless suffering. He saw it as a breaking open, a painful but necessary unveiling of something true. And that is what this video is about. Not how to escape pain, but how to understand what it is doing to you, what it is asking of you, and how it can become the beginning of a deeper life instead of the end of one. When a devastating loss first enters your life, your instinct is not wisdom. It is survival. You do not immediately ask what this pain means. You do not calmly begin reflecting on its purpose. You react the way human beings react when reality suddenly becomes unbearable. You try to keep yourself from falling apart. At first, your mind refuses to believe what it has just heard. Then, your body begins reacting before your thoughts can catch up. Your breathing changes. Your hands lose steadiness. The room, which only moments ago felt ordinary, begins to feel strange, distant, and almost unreal. And after that first violent impact, a second struggle begins. You try to keep moving. You try to create noise around yourself. You reach for anything that will keep you from sitting in silence long enough for the full truth to settle into your chest. This is where many people become trapped. Because pain that is only pushed away does not heal. It does not disappear. It simply waits beneath the surface, gathering weight, gathering depth, until all your distractions are no longer strong enough to hold it back. So the first lesson is not strength, nor endurance. It is honesty. You must begin by recognizing that avoiding pain is not the same thing as surviving it. It is only postponing your meeting with it. What happened in that moment was not only emotional, it was structural. Something that held your understanding of life together suddenly gave way, and that is why pain feels larger than sadness. It is not simply that someone is gone. It is that the world you were standing inside has changed shape, and your inner life does not know how to stand inside this new reality yet. This is why Gibran's language is so powerful. When he says that pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding, he is telling us that suffering is not only a wound, it is also a revelation. It breaks the form within which you once lived, and thought, and loved. It forces you to confront truths that comfort allowed you to ignore. Pain, then, is not only what you feel after loss. It is what happens when your old understanding can no longer contain what life has shown you.
Why does pain feel as if it takes everything from me?
Because what you called everything was woven into the very way you understood your life. You did not merely love what you lost. You built meaning around it. You placed your identity beside it. You believed, perhaps without saying so aloud, that this presence would remain and that your inner world could go on arranging itself around that certainty. And now that certainty has been taken. So what you feel is not only grief, it is the terror of disorientation. It is the anguish of discovering that what you leaned upon was never guaranteed to remain.
Then why does it feel as though I myself am breaking?
Because a part of you is breaking. Not your deepest being, but the structure of self that was dependent upon what has now been lost. And when such a structure begins to fall away, the soul trembles, for it mistakes its old arrangement for its true foundation. Yet what is collapsing is not your essence. It is your illusion of permanence.
Then what is pain? Pain, truly.
Pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It is the force through which life shows you that you have mistaken the temporary for the eternal, the beloved form for the source itself, the outer bond for the whole of your being. Pain is revelation. It comes when the old enclosure can no longer hold the truth.
And why must loss teach us this through suffering?
Because the human heart clings. It binds itself to what it loves and then imagines that love can only live in one form, in one voice, in one face, in one earthly nearness. Loss shatters that narrowness. It wounds you, yes, but within the wound there is an opening. Through that opening, understanding enters. Through that opening, you begin to see that love does not vanish simply because form does.
Then pain is not punishment?
Punishment.
No, pain is not punishment. It is a severe mercy. It tears away what can no longer remain, and in doing so, it returns you to a deeper truth. It humbles you, empties you, and makes room in you for a vision that comfort could never have given. And if you do not flee from it, if you do not harden yourself against its teaching, then what remains after pain is not ruin. What remains is a self less protected, less certain perhaps, but far more real.
If you want to move through pain, then at some point you must stop asking how to silence it and begin asking how to meet it. This is difficult because grief is not neat. It does not arrive in one clean form and wait politely to be understood. It rises in fragments. It returns in memories, in unfinished thoughts, in unspoken love, in sudden collapses of feeling that seem to come from nowhere. That is why healing begins with willingness. You do not heal by pretending the pain is no longer there. You heal by creating space in which you no longer run from it. You sit with what hurts. You allow memory to come without immediately shutting it down. You let sorrow move through the body instead of treating it as an intruder. And gradually, very gradually, pain begins to reveal what lies beneath it. The more honestly you feel, the more clearly you begin to understand. And once understanding begins, suffering changes. It is still painful, but it is no longer meaningless. What begins to change in that process is not merely the intensity of pain, but your relationship to it. At first, grief feels like an invasion. It feels as if something is attacking your life from the outside. But gradually, if you remain honest and present, you begin to see that pain is also illumination. It is showing you what you built yourself around. It is revealing where your identity depended on what could be taken away. And once that becomes visible, something shifts. Pain is still painful, but it is no longer blind. You begin to understand that the suffering is not only about losing someone. It is also about confronting the structures inside yourself that believed you could not remain whole without what has been lost. And that understanding changes everything. Because now you are no longer merely enduring pain. You are learning from it. Pain is not the end of your life. It is the moment your life becomes more real than it was before. Kahlil Gibran understood that grief is not only sorrow. It is a tearing open of the old enclosure of the self. It is the severe and unwelcome event through which you are forced to see what was never permanent, what you leaned on without knowing it, and what remains in you when all of that is gone. That is why his words endure. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. And maybe what you are feeling right now is not simply your life falling apart. Maybe it is the painful beginning of a deeper understanding, a more truthful self, and a way of living that no longer depends on the illusion that what can be lost was ever your true foundation. If this message spoke to you, like, subscribe, and continue with me as we explore more timeless wisdom on pain, love, freedom, and the transformation of the human heart.
If this video touched your heart, subscribe. It's inspired by the timeless wisdom in the 7-book Rumi collection by Dr. Farid Mostaman. Whether you seek healing, love, clarity, or growth, these teachings will guide you inward to the truth of who you are.